It was close to midnight when I switched on the red light inside the small Cairo radio booth. The city outside was half asleep, glowing orange under weak lamps. My shift was the late one, the ghost hour, as my producer liked to call it. Most people thought that name was just radio banter. I used to think so too. The show was Whispers of the Nile, a folklore segment where callers shared Egyptian myths and hauntings. I had done it for years. People phoned in about curses, jinn, and spirits. Sometimes it was funny, sometimes eerie. But that night, something changed. At exactly 12:07 a.m., I got the first call. The line crackled. "Good evening," I said cheerfully. "You're live on Whispers of the Nile. What's your story tonight?"
There was no response, just a slow rhythmic sound. Tap, 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 like a finger against the glass. "Hello? Can you hear me?" I asked. The tapping stopped. Then a faint woman's voice trembled through the static. "I've been listening for so long." "Glad to have you," I said, assuming she was nervous. "What's your name?" A pause. Then, "You already know me." I laughed politely. "No, I don't think I do." "You spoke to me before." Her tone chilled me. I asked where she was calling from. "From near the river," she whispered, "where the water doesn't move anymore." The line hissed and went silent. I checked the board, no number, just a blank dash. That never happened. I shrugged it off and moved on with the next story.
10 minutes later, the same voice returned. "You stopped answering me," she said. The switchboard light blinked again, still blank. "Who is this?" I asked. "Someone you left waiting." I tried to joke. "You're really setting the mood tonight." She didn't laugh. "You promised you'd call back." I turned off my mic, signaling to Kareem, my sound engineer, behind the glass. He shrugged. He wasn't hearing the call on his end. Only I could hear her. When I switched the mic back on, she was whispering again. I leaned closer. "What are you saying?" "It's cold down here." A chill ran through me. I could almost smell something. Wet, muddy, like riverbank clay. I hung up quickly, my hand trembling. For the rest of the night, I tried to ignore it. Took regular calls, laughed with listeners, played some soft oud music. Everything felt normal again. Until the outro. The clock hit 2 a.m., and as I reached for the fader to end the broadcast, a whisper came through the speakers. "Don't leave me again." Every light on the switchboard blinked red, all 20 flashing at once. I yanked off my headphones. The room fell silent. I told myself it was stress. Too much caffeine, not enough sleep. Cairo's air can play tricks when it's humid and late. But the next night, it happened again. This time, she said my full name. Only my family used my middle name. I hadn't said it on air in years. "Who is this?" I whispered. "You spoke to me on your first show," she said softly, "before you moved studios." That couldn't be right. My first studio was in Daki 6 years ago. I remembered a test broadcast, a prank call, a woman describing my exact outfit, the cracked watch, the mug I held. We had laughed and cut her off mid-sentence. The next morning, police reported that a woman had drowned near Zamalek that same night. I hadn't thought of her in years. Until now. By the third night, things changed around the studio. The power flickered, papers moved though no fan was on. I smelled river water again. Heavy, metallic, like rust. Kareem complained about hearing wet footsteps in the corridor while I was on air. He even recorded them. When we played the tape, all we heard was faint breathing. Underwater. I started noticing something stranger. Every time I played the opening jingle, the static formed a pattern.
slowed down. It wasn't random. It was a voice repeating my name.
By the fourth night, I decided to confront her. I went live at midnight sharp. If you're real, if you can hear me, tell me what you want. No one called for half an hour. Then came the hiss, the same low hum. "You left the line open," she said. "What do you mean?" "You never closed it. The night you cut me off, the river took me, but you kept the line open." My heart pounded. "What do you want from me?" Her tone softened. "To finish my story." So I let her talk. She said she was a singer from Beni Suef, who performed by the Nile every Friday. Her voice drew crowds, until one evening she met a man who promised to take her to Cairo to record an album. He brought her on a small boat across the river. "He made it," she whispered. "I didn't." The date she mentioned matched that first broadcast week 6 years ago. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you kept listening," she said. Then the line went dead. After the show, I walked home through empty Cairo streets. At 3 a.m., the city felt different. Quiet, except for barking dogs and the hum of the bridges. I stopped by the Nile. The water looked darker, almost oily. For a moment, I saw a woman waist deep in the current, staring up at me. Then she vanished. I told no one. Who would believe that a ghost called my radio line? But the calls kept coming. Every night, same time, 12:07 a.m. Each time, her words changed slightly. "Do you remember the song I sang?" she'd ask. Another night, "Do you still keep the cracked watch?" Once, she said, "You could have warned me." Warned her of what? That question haunted me. I began digging through archives, searching for drownings in Zamalek that year. One file stood out. Amira N., age 27, missing, presumed drowned. Occupation, radio singer hopeful. When I saw her photo, my hands shook. I'd seen her before, not just in memory, but in a crowd photo from a local radio fair. She was smiling, holding a cassette labeled "For the Producer." That producer was me. I played the cassette the next night during a break. The moment it started, her voice filled the booth, but she wasn't singing. She was gasping. Water rushed behind her, and then came a single word: "Help." Beneath that, faint but clear, was the tapping. Tap, tap, tap. The same from her first call. That's when I realized the truth. She hadn't just drowned. She was on the line as it happened. The test call we cut off had been her final plea for help. I never forgave myself. But guilt is a strange bond. It ties the living and the dead. On the 7th night, I decided to end it. I set up one final broadcast, closing every other line, and spoke directly to her. "You can tell your story now," I said. Static swelled in my headphones, rising white noise. Then a faint melody, a woman humming. The same voice from the cassette, the same voice from the river. I let it play on air for 3 minutes. No words, just humming and distant water. When it faded, I whispered, "Rest now." For the first time, the line went completely silent. The next morning, Kareem found the recording on the studio drive. The timestamp read 2:07 a.m., not when I ended the show, but 10 minutes later. He said the microphone was still on, though I'd switched it off. Faintly beneath the hum, he heard 2 voices, mine and another saying, "Thank you." I quit Whispers of the Nile after that. The station replaced me with a younger host who joked the ghost stories would boost ratings. 2 weeks later, he called me, voice shaking. He said he'd received a call at 12:07 a.m. A woman humming,
asking, "Where is the man who used to listen?" I told him not to answer next time. Sometimes when I walk near the Nile at night, I still hear faint tapping from the water's edge. Tap, 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 like fingers on glass. Maybe she's still calling. Or maybe she found someone else to listen. Either way, I've stopped walking near the river.
Still, on quiet Cairo nights, when the traffic fades and the city holds its breath, if you tune your radio just right, between the static, you might hear her voice, whispering, waiting. And if she ever says your name, don't answer.